Since Michele Tafoya left her gig with NBC, she has done videos for PragerU, found an ally in a man who body shamed Serena Williams, blamed single black mothers for police killing black people, and went after Colin Kaepernick, that being Jason Whitlock, spewed nonsense when appearing and sharing laughs with disgraced former Fox News host Megyn Kelly, yucked it up with conspiracy theorist, bigot, and heir to the Swanson frozen food fortune Tucker Carlson. She gave her stamp of approval on the COVID-19 vaccine killing people, offering zero pushback on former Utah Jazz great John Stockton's false assertions, with of course no evidence, got embarrassed on The View, national television, and promoted Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville, who recently spouted the white supremacist conspiracy theory known as Great Replacement Theory at one of his rallies. In her most recent podcast, she went after fellow female journalist Lisa Guerrero, who bravely came forward with the following.
Lisa, you suffered a miscarriage on the air and didn't say anything.
Right.
Because you felt you had to do that. Why?
I was on Monday Night Football at the time, and I was under a great deal of scrutiny. I was being criticized in the media. I had a boss that was verbally abusive to me, and I really let all that negativity physically and emotionally damage me to the point where late in the season, I started to have a miscarriage, and instead of immediately saying, I need to go to the hospital, I need to leave, I was so worried about being fired that I soldiered on. I plastered a smile on my face. I went into the official's bathroom. I knew that I was having a miscarriage, and yet I was so embarrassed about that and humiliated about
broke
it
my heart.
that I couldn't tell anybody.
Tafoya would then read an excerpt from Guerrero's book, then followed it with her own thoughts.
And I felt such shame and embarrassment that the last thing I was going to say is, oh, and by the way, I just had a miscarriage. Most of my best friends will learn about it by reading the book. If it was such pain that she's carried for 20 years and her best friends still have to buy the book to learn about it, I see a disconnect there. It's her story to tell, but having been through similar things, trust me when I tell you, my best friends knew.
I find this to be highly inappropriate, and here's why. Pregnancy means different things to different people. How we react to things, the trials and tribulations of life, vary from person to person. It's, of course, what makes us all unique in our own way. What I feel is unfair is Lisa Guerrero did not feel comfortable coming forward with this, and that is her right. That is 1,000% her right. For example, journaling lays a great foundation for a lot of people, right? You record your thoughts, you record your progress throughout, and you let out what you may not feel like telling the world. So you let it out through a different avenue. If this is part of Guerrero's healing, then so be it. What Tafoya is doing is uncalled for and dangerous. Tafoya would then share 2 stories of scares she had with her own pregnancies, which are heartbreaking, let's be clear. However, where she loses the viewer is by comparing her situation and relationship with the producers and directors at games to Guerrero's. To do so is to paint the picture that Tafoya was there, that she knew everything that went into Guerrero's broadcast, and that Michele Tafoya herself had an ear for every dynamic and personal connection one made with another on Guerrero's announcing gigs. Lisa Guerrero previously said she had an abusive boss. She said she felt pressure to continue on with her role at Monday Night Football. There are horror stories told from veteran journalists, anchors, reporters, and those working on the sideline who could write their own memoir, all while feeling chastised, yet knowing with all these circumstances in play, they must perform or they can easily be replaced. And it's not like Michele Tafoya doesn't know this. Lisa Guerrero knows this. Tafoya herself knows this. Look, I have worked with and heard horror stories of great, accomplished, passionate female colleagues that have worked in this industry that have told me so many inappropriate stories on how they felt uncomfortable a lot of the time. Not all the time, a lot of the time in a white male dominated industry. I do not think that this is a fair criticism from Michele Tafoya. I just don't.
And so I have my hesitation about, was this truly a devastating miscarriage? But it's her story to tell.
She would add, I think what she's doing is wrong, and I think that her motivations are not pure. It's a tough business, and it's what she signed up for. You either cut it or you can't. I contend she wasn't tough enough. People deal with trauma and health emergencies differently. It's one thing to question Guerrero's opinion of shared colleagues, but questioning the level of devastation she experienced from a health emergency seems narrow-minded. It would later be learned that throughout all of this, Michele Tafoya was giving cover because she knew someone that made Lisa Guerrero feel uncomfortable. That's what it would come down to. She said, well, he asks a lot. You don't have the same relationship. You could speak on your relationship, but to put down someone's claims because you have a connection with that person, off, wrong. You don't know what they went through. This is also when news breaks of someone doing something terrible, it's like, oh, I never would have expected it. Well, no, a lot of people wouldn't have expected it. Just because they treat you well doesn't mean that there is the potential to treat someone else poorly.